Alright guys, so once again we gotta talk about The View, who just came back from a month-long break. And if you guys recall, before that break, The View had a whole lot of controversy because finally their ridiculous propaganda and sometimes slanderous takes were catching up with the show, right? I mean, they were just saying dumb thing after dumb thing after dumb thing, backlash after backlash after backlash. And you would think that after taking a 1 month break, that they would self-reflect and say, hey, where are we going wrong here, right? Maybe we should roll back the extremism, roll back the propaganda. However, that is not the case. As soon as they got back, they were back up to their old ways of just absolutely insane woke propaganda. And this time we got to talk about Sunny Hostin, who in her 9/11 segment took the time to say that we can't unite as a country because of white supremacy. We have to deal with white supremacy before we can unite as a country. And I want to talk about that, plus some other interesting takes from that segment. But before I get in there, I just want to let you guys know, if you like my channel and you want to support my channel, you can check out my merch, my donkeypox shirts, the disease that is affecting America, or my hashtag no days off / hard work patriotic t-shirts, or my MAGA Hub shirts. There's plenty of cool merch for you guys to check out at my website, gforemanbcp.com. Get 20% off using discount code gforemanbcp. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll this clip of The View discussing how can we unite as a country on days like 9/11 despite the political polarization that we're currently facing. Take a look.
I think you hit the nail right on the head, in the sense that we came together as a country because it was a foreign adversary.
Yeah.
That is why I think it was an act of foreign terrorism. And so we felt like, how dare you come to our country and harm us? The biggest threat to our country today, says the FBI's director, is white supremacy and domestic terrorism. Merrick Garland said the biggest threat to our democracy is white supremacy and domestic terrorism. How do you come together when it's homegrown terror? And we have never addressed why there is that issue that remains in this country 400 years later. And until we get to that, until we have accountability, we are not, I don't think, ever going to be able to come close to what we saw in terms of unity.
What is kind of unique about the division in our country right now that I don't think gets enough attention is a lot of it does come from foreign actors. America's adversaries use social media. They use information warfare to divide America from within. That is a fact that we know. The intelligence community, the defense community has told us that. And I think we all have to be more conscious observers of what we take in, how we consume media, to know, is this put here to divide me against my neighbor, to make me hate the other side of the aisle? Like, we need to get back to this place where, I'm the conservative at the table, where, like, we don't hate somebody just because their political viewpoints are different.
But that's
if
not
we
what
can
the
believe.
FBI is saying. The FBI
oh no, I wasn't. And sorry, that wasn't a
Russian
disagreement
bots
with
are the reason why we're so divided as a country.
But Alyssa, that wasn't what you were saying.
I
I was saying, kind of adding on to that. I think there's
Oh,
a number of
okay.
different areas of division. I completely agree with
go
that.
ahead.
But when you're talking,
Bruh, the new conservative host that they have, Alyssa Farrah Griffin, I think that's her name. She's a piss poor representation of conservatives or the Republican Party. I don't know what she's supposed to be representing, but again, whatever she's supposed to be representing, the conservative side, she's a piss poor example. Because as the conservative at the table, she should be defending conservatives against these smears that are coming from people like Sunny Hostin. Because Sunny Hostin here just said that, well, we can't unite on days like 9/11, a day where all Americans should be able to put their political differences aside and say, hey, we're all Americans, we're all the same. Oh no, we can't do that until we deal with white supremacy. I don't know what white supremacy has to do with that, but we all know what she's actually really trying to say. Because what is people like Sunny Hostin, what do they define as white supremacists? Well, it's anybody that disagrees with me politically. Anybody that's white and disagrees with Sunny Hostin politically is a white supremacist, according to her. So she's talking about, what, half of the country. So basically what she's saying is that, well, we can't unite because I don't like the political beliefs of half the country. Because Alyssa Farrah Griffin, if she wasn't such a piss poor example for a conservative at the table, she would have called out Sunny Hostin and said, well, the reason why we can't unite on days like 9/11 is because we have the Democrat Party and race hustlers in the media like Sunny Hostin here, who takes advantage of days like 9/11, uses 9/11 to smear people as white supremacists that disagree with them politically. This is why we can't unite, because that's exactly what Sunny Hostin was doing. She's doing exactly what the Democrat Party is actively doing right now. They are using 9/11 as a political tool to attack the Republican Party as white supremacists, because what does white supremacy have to do with 9/11? Nothing at all. She threw that in there as a talking point because Sunny Hostin wants to push Democrat Party propaganda. She's a propaganda artist for the Democrat Party, in the sense that she's trying to push the Democratic narrative that, hey, we need to start thinking about the so-called white supremacists, aka the Republican Party in this country, the same way we thought about Al-Qaeda. Right? The same way we thought about the people that did 9/11. And it is statements like that, propaganda like that, that is why we can't unite as a country. Because you can't unite with people that are essentially saying that their neighbors are the equivalent of a foreign terrorist group, purely based off their skin color and their political beliefs. Again, the perfect opportunity there for Alyssa Farah to call out Sunny Hostin on that type of rhetoric and to say, no, actually, people like you are the reason we can't unite. It has nothing to do with white supremacists. But, you know, instead of calling her out directly, she just dances around it. She just dances around it. Oh, it's the media. You know, we need to be careful what we take in. It's like, you are the media. It is shows like The View that continue to divide this country. You should have called out the whole panel. But no, she's not going to, because that's why she was hired in the first place. She was hired to not call out the rest of these woke liberal ladies on their BS and their nonsense and their propaganda. She was hired because she doesn't have a strong backbone. They hired the weakest conservative woman that they could. All because, well, she hates Trump and she's not going to call us out on our BS. She's actually not going to give us any pushback when we smear half the country as white supremacists. That's why she's sitting at that table. But what is just as frustrating is the cognitive dissonance that is going to show up here on The View's panel in this same segment, in which they acknowledge the role that politicians play in the current division in this country and their rhetoric, and they're going to all agree that on 9/11, you shouldn't be using this day to attack political opponents. However, what they're going to fail to mention is that the Democrats, including the president of the United States, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the vice president, Hillary Clinton, who used to be a Democrat presidential nominee, they're all out here using 9/11 as a reason to attack Republicans or MAGA Republicans and equating them to foreign terrorist threats. But for whatever reason, that's going to slip the mind of these cackling hens on The View.
But I do believe the American people in this country come together in times of trouble in a way that I wish I could say the same about our politicians right now. Even yesterday, Kevin McCarthy said something on 9/11, and I think when we say never forget, there's got to be a certain sanctity to that day. There were not only 3,000 people killed, there have been thousands of first responders that have died since from illness and otherwise. So if we can't even stay true to that date and hold that sacred, then it tells me a little bit about politically how it would play out.
Kevin McCarthy thought it was the perfect date to attack Joe Biden on foreign policy decisions.
Well, I'm sorry, you can attack who you want anytime. If you have any class, you'll remember that Americans died. People got out of those buildings the best way they could. And if that's not enough to keep your behind on what the prize is, was making sure this doesn't happen again, and you feel the absolute need to bring up stuff you could bring up a day later, then there's a problem. And this goes to, I'm talking to all politicians all over. If you can't stick to what the day means, then don't get on television. Nobody wants to see you. People want to feel like you actually care about the people who are left and everything they've gone through. And if you don't care about that, don't let us know where you are on that day, okay? You don't have to.
Yeah, it'd be nice if Whoopi, during her little soliloquy there, actually called out the Democrat Party. Because her colleagues, just before she started talking, was like, oh, Kevin McCarthy said something about Joe Biden. Okay, but what about Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, all these Democrats who have used 9/11 as a reason to try to equate the American people to foreign terrorist threats? Do you have anything to say about that? Right? Why do you never bring that up? They always want to bring up what the one Republican did, in which I'm not seeing a bunch of Republicans that use 9/11 to attack the Democrat Party, to say that the Democrat Party is like a foreign terrorist threat. I haven't seen too much of that, but I've seen a whole lot of that from the Democrats. Seen a whole lot of it. So exactly what Whoopi's talking about here, right? In which I think she's actually correct. If you're going to use 9/11 to attack your political opponent, don't talk. Don't go on national TV and do it. It's disrespectful. But she should have took a step further and actually called out the Democrat politicians that are doing that. The Republican politician always gets called out. The Democrat politician never gets called out, even by the so-called Republican. It's like, bruh, you got a whole panel full of Democrat propaganda artists and woke Trump-hating Republicans. And this is why we can't unite. This is why we got so much hate and division, because the mainstream liberal media is so one-sided. And they push all this hate and division. The View is probably one of the #1 shows on daytime television that is pushing hate and division in this country every single day by smearing half of the country as white supremacists and terrorist threats. But then they want to turn around and point the finger at everybody else and say, well, they're the reason why we can't unite. They're the reason why we can't come together. And it's like, bro, you don't want to come together. You don't want to come together. Which, in my opinion, if these people who hate America so much, they don't like the people who live here so much, go move to another country. Why make us move? The people that love America, that want to be here. You're the one that hates America. You don't want to be here. For whatever reason, you're dissatisfied making millions of dollars to talk about things that you really don't know what you're talking about every single year. Hey, if you hate it so bad, go live in Africa where there ain't no white people. Or Haiti, right? If you hate this country, you think it's so bad, you think it's so terrible, and you're going to smear half the people as white supremacists. Again, leave. But they won't. They don't want to leave the white supremacy that they claim they hate so much. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.